Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Bulls on Tap. I'm your boy Buzz, and I'm joined by a special guest today, Salim Suterwalla of the Bulls Gold Podcast. He's stepping in for Goose today. We're going to have a conversation about the Bulls win, and, this is actually a good one to have him on because we have a win, and there's something exciting to talk about for once. Before we do that, be sure you're going to ontapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Following us on Twitter at Bulls on Tap, at On Tap Sportsnet. Following Salim at Jordan Dynasty. Follow me at Buzz on Tap. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to us. 5-star rating and review because that's cool and tough. Salim, man, we've never been on the mic together, so I'm going to crack a beer to that because I'm excited to have you here. How are you, man?
I'm good. Buzz, thanks so much for having me. You're a fun guy on Twitter, and you like to have a good time. I know that. I love your little trend you started amongst your on tap cohorts all over you with the crank 'em. Or crack 'em. I apologize. That's fun. That's fun, man. That's fun stuff. And I like that. Like you like to say, it's fun and tough.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. We have a good time. We like to have a good time with it, man. It's our little shtick, our little spiel type thing, but it's cool to do. Just, bringing a little bit of fun into what we do and just try to, have some laughs, even though Chicago sports typically depress us. So
no, for sure. I'm hoping some good times ahead, but we'll see here, I guess.
Absolutely, man. So what a game for you to be on here because the Bulls came out strong tonight. They end up beating the Hornets 120-99, and I mean, we kind of kicked the crap out of the Hornets, I felt like, all year. I mean, we just swept them. And, the way they came out today, man, what did you see in that first quarter that set the tone?
I liked how Pat came out. It didn't go that way for the rest of the game, but I still think he had a good game overall. But yeah, I liked how he came out. He was aggressive, got himself going. He was good cutting to the basket, playing off like Vooch. He's probably been one of the better ones in that regards, cutting to the basket since Vooch has got here. So yeah, I saw that. I think we saw Zach not trying to force the issue. I think he's still trying to work himself in, and I think he realizes, look, I need to come in. We need to try to figure out how to play together. So that's why you kind of see him, he's been like that since I think kind of finding his spots since Vooch has gotten here. Sometimes he forces some shots, but I think one stat I'll say since the Vooch trade with him in the lineup, I know there's some fans out there that think the ball moves better without Zach. I don't agree with that. We've seen since Vooch got here, and again with Zach in the lineup, both of them together, the Bulls are averaging like 28 assists a game. So since that trade deadline. So I mean, the ball movement on offense hasn't been the problem. The big issue has been defense, and I think that has a lot to also do with getting the right defensive players around Vooch and Zach. But yeah, those are some of the things I've noticed right off the bat. Seeing Zach letting his teammates do what they have been doing the last whatever games where he's been out. Pat was aggressive, and hey, Vooch, man, that guy's just a beast.
No, absolutely. Like what I noticed really in the first quarter, like you said, is P. Will being aggressive. And I was really happy with that because he's had a stretch of games lately. While it doesn't really translate sometimes in the box score, if you're watching the game and you're like kind of zoning in on him, like player lock for a minute, he's been very aggressive. He's been moving without the ball, cutting, looking for a shot, looking to get to the rim. And I really like that. And another thing in the first quarter that I was super happy about, and they kind of got away from it as the first quarter started dwindling away, was everybody moving without the ball and patience within the shot clock. And I felt like that really helped them in the beginning of the game because they set a tone for the offense. And to your point about Zach LaVine and Vooch, I thought it was so premature that people didn't like them together in 10 games. They're two guys who are playing together for the first time. They're both NBA All-Stars. Vooch has been in the same system for 8 years, something like that. Of course it's going to take some time, but I kind of wonder to myself, I kind of get your opinion too. While Zach was sitting at home, like he said in his interviews yesterday when he was being talked to, is he watched a lot of the games. He had a couple angry tweets out there, but I wonder if he really studied Vooch's game even more than he had before. Do you think he did that? Because I felt like tonight, like you said, he didn't force the issue and he kind of, would you say he played complementary to the offense instead of forcing it? Because I felt like that.
Yeah, I think so. And I wouldn't be surprised if Zach watched a lot of tape, because we heard earlier this season something that he did with Billy is watch a lot more tape and talk to Billy about, what things he can improve on. I think that's one way he's improved his defense overall. I mean, yeah, he's still not a good defender, if you will. He has improved. He's probably been more so below average. I mean, in the past years, he was just really, really bad, but I think he's improved. He still has his lapses, but he's gotten better at helping out, getting to his rotations and stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's watched a lot of tape when he was been out, because he is kind of a basketball junkie and he's kind of like a gym rat, right? So he's always trying to, find ways to improve himself, especially if he's sitting at home and, he's getting pissed off that, he can't play. And he said that, he barely had any symptoms. I don't necessarily disagree with the health and safety protocol, but I can also understand the frustration when you're not really, the COVID didn't affect you the way it may others, and you're healthy, you feel okay. You've been cleared as far as not having it anymore, and then wondering like, man, why can't I go out and play? Especially when the last couple of games he was sitting on the bench. Like, if he was allowed on the bench, why can't he just play? So that's kind of confusing that in that regards as well. But yeah, I completely agree with you as far as him coming in. As I pointed out, he was trying to make sure that he's not going to be a disruptor of the offense out there, and just kind of mold back into the team. And as he's getting his legs under him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another guy I kind of want to touch on within the first quarter as well, because I really felt like he helped set a tone within how the offense was running, whether that was getting to the rim by penetrating and kicking the ball out to an open man, or even getting the hockey assist, if you will, was Kobe White. I felt like him and Zach actually played pretty decent together. And another thing about Kobe tonight too, that dude, I know he gets a lot of slack too on the defensive side of the ball. You and I have seen countless conversations on Twitter about how he's not great on the defensive side. And, I tend to agree if you look at the numbers, of course, but you got to give the dude credit for fighting over screens and trying to push and transition. And I really felt like he did that tonight. And like I said, it's so refreshing. And I'm sounding so optimistic because a couple days ago, I'm like, lose out, get the fourth pick. And then I just get roped back in when everybody's healthy,
No, for sure. No, yeah. Kobe, it's not been an easy year for him. Look, some of the criticism is just. I mean, it is what it is. There's things that he struggles on that he needs to improve on. We've talked about his defense countless times this season, and that's ideally the biggest obstacle for Kobe and Zach backcourt is defense. Because again, Zach, we talk about he has improved, but that's not his strength, especially when you're defending in the pick and roll. You need a strong point of attack defender, and neither Zach and Kobe are good, strong point of attack defenders. So if Zach is going to be the guy you keep long term, and he is, because he's an elite offensive scorer in this league, you need someone next to Zach that can be that guy. That's why a guy like Lonzo Ball has been brought up so often by many other Bulls fans and whoever, if you will. Because Lonzo is that strong defensive presence that can be that point of attack defender at the pick and roll. But in Kobe's defense, like I said, him having to be in a role when he started the season, trying to be a point guard when that's not his natural position. And by point guard, I also mean like lead initiator, because that's people kind of think like when people will say Kobe's not a starting a point guard or starting point guard, people assume that he sucks. No, that's not what people are saying. People are saying he can't be the lead initiator of an offense, which is not false. But at the same time, yeah, he's young, he's learning. It's kind of hard to figure out how to do that. He's more of a natural scorer, so his instincts are to be a guy that takes shots. When he's driving to the basket, he kind of gets tunnel vision and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you're slowly seeing some improvements. Like if you watch, I'm sure you follow Stefan No. Mm-hmm. He's pointed out things that Kobe's been doing as far as some defensive, improvements, hustles, going around screens, trying to recover, being just a little smarter in that regard. So yeah, it's a work in progress. We'll see. I'm not like out on Kobe as far as who he could be still as a player. I think he could potentially be a decent guy. I will say though, I am hoping he finishes strong, just so I'm not saying I want to get rid of him, but just to have that trade value there, because maybe something comes about that is a better fit for the roster going forward with Zach and Vooch, like a better player that could fit better with Zach and Vooch, and that team maybe be a better fit for Kobe. Maybe a trade, something like that could work out. But like I said, it's encouraged to see him in this second half improve a little bit, even as the season is winding down.
Yeah, absolutely. I always looked at Kobe as, I wanted to give him the fair shot at the PG position to be able to, initiate the offense, because like you said, when people get really salty about that, when people say he's not a starting point guard, and it's not trying to discredit his game or how he plays it by any means necessary, but it's something that I've kind of learned throughout the season as well, because, he was a 7th pick in the draft. Sometimes you get tied to these guys and you want to see them succeed. So you have clouded judgment. And I wanted to see him improve out, in a development year, which in my mind is what it was. And kind of got competitive there for a little bit. We fell off, obviously, but I like the improvement I've seen out of him, whether that's, penetrating, kicking the ball out, making the right decisions instead of trying to force something, moving off ball as well. And that's like what his strength is like, his catch and shoot percentage. I think last time I looked, it was like 40%, 41% or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I like him in that more so like in that role, but tonight I got no complaints on him. He played a pretty decent game. He did have 4 turnovers to his 6 assists, which is kind of rare because Kobe's floating around 2.5 turnovers a game, but he did well. And then we got to point out the guy that really kicked ass in his return tonight is Zach was, like you said, he didn't force it as much. He was letting the offense kind of come to him, not, trying to get into his game, not trying to be an ISO player. And that's Vooch tonight, 12 for 24, 5 for 7 from downtown, 29 points, 14 boards, 3 assists for Vooch. I mean, if he had a hip injury, and you told me he just got an MRI a couple of days ago, I'd be like, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah. It's, people after the trades happen, obviously certain things haven't gone the way we thought it would. I think some of that has to do with, again, adding a player of his caliber, his high usage, in the middle of a weird season as is. Like this season we're not in a bubble, but it's still a weird season, right?
Yeah, right.
And the fact that there's no practices, it's hard to mix that type of player into a lineup and see, them take off right as, they get together. So I think that's been one struggle, but I mean, I'm so happy that AK traded for him. I feel like we did not give up a lot. I know some people will look at the draft picks, but I feel like, so if the Bulls end up with the 7th or 8th, 9th pick, yeah, there's some nice young players that potentially could be good, but that's how we're looking at. The only difference makers will be in that top 4 range, and it's top 4 protected. So if it gets in the top 4, we're fine, right? You're gonna get that difference maker more than likely, but in that 7th and 9th, you could potentially get a difference maker, but we won't know till 3-4 years from now. And I just think I'd rather have a guy like Vooch going into this offseason when you have Zach, Vooch, Pat, maybe Kobe. I don't know what happens, but I think AK will have to get creative regardless of trying to add players to really fit around them, and probably get players that are more defensive minded. A guy like Troy Brown Jr., I think, could really be a fit next to them. I think you've seen some plus minus numbers with Kobe and Zach when he's playing with them that are just really outstanding, just because he's a nice defensive presence. But yeah, I'm with Vooch. I'm trying. Sorry, I can get a motor rambling, but
no, it's all good, man.
I know, but like, yeah, I like the trade. I like him. He's so damn good. Just seeing some of the box scores. I don't know if you notice this sometimes, but like you'll be watching the game, it'll be like the third quarter, and it's like, wait, he has 20 and 12. What?
Yeah, no, I feel like that all the time. I feel like I feel like it's always quiet, and maybe tonight it was more heightened because he's been gone for the last 2 games. And I'm with you on the Vooch trade. In my opinion, I still love the trade. I'm still glad they made the trade. I love the top 4 protection on the pick as well. But when you were talking about the draft and you were saying 7 and 9, nothing's guaranteed, and you're absolutely right. It's called the lottery for a reason. You have a ticket, doesn't mean you're going to win it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to get an automatic player who's going to come out and be super effective immediately. And this front office's mantra has been since they got here is like, okay, we're going to evaluate what's here and then we're going to be competitive. And that's where they're at. And, whatever happens with it. But the way he plays when he's out on the court is fantastic. And to your point, getting players around him that complement him and Zach will bring the team, I believe, into another level. I think that they'll be even more of a competitive team once they can get gelled, once complementary pieces are put around them, once Patrick Williams starts really getting it. Because, he was super efficient tonight, 4 for 5, 11 points for Pat. He had a good game. But a guy that I love that plays with Vooch right now is Tice. And I didn't know how I really felt about it at first, because not that I'm like an overly crazy Lauri Markkanen stan by any means necessary. I did want to try to give him the shot. And, I can't bitch at him tonight because he actually played a good game, hustling, doing his thing, 4 for 5, 2 for 3 from downtown. I'm not going to hate on him, 10.7 boards for him. But, he didn't fit next to Vooch for defensive purposes, really. And that's and also he was struggling with the shot a lot. He probably didn't mean to move to the bench. He wasn't able to hit open threes. If you look at his numbers, I use StatMuse a lot. I don't know if you ever go to that site. I'm a big fan of it, but they just weren't great. And, it is what it is. But Daniel Tice is a guy for me. And when you look at what he did tonight, he's everywhere all the time. And it's so pleasing to watch. He goes 5 for 8, 1 for 2 from downtown. He has 12.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. That's the kind of guy I like. And I'm so worried we're not going to have him back next year. I'm terrified of that. That'll suck. But, I love his, if we could find a piece like him, if he doesn't come back, and you could put maybe someone like that next to Vooch, and maybe that could be Pat when he gets a little bit bigger, and slide him over to the 4. He's already a massive dude, but he's not done growing yet. He's only 19, I think that'll complement it a lot as well.
Yeah. I think Pat's natural position is the 4. I don't think he's a 3. And I think a lot of his issues, so he projects to be a good defender. He's shown glimpses of what he can be, especially on the help side. But asking him to defend perimeter guys all game, that's just, you see the issues we have. But at the same time, it's due to roster construction, because unfortunately on most night he is the best guy, even though he'll struggle from time to time defending these perimeter guys. Outside of Temple, when Temple's not in the rotation, obviously Temple is our best probably perimeter defender, but when he's not in rotation, you have to have Pat guard some of these, big name like Devin Booker. We've seen Pat guard, and whoever that you will. But yeah, I definitely think Pat's long-term position is the 4. With Tice, I'll say this: if we want to keep him, it might have to come down to moving Thad.
Right.
So it's one or the other, right? It comes down, if you want to keep Daniel Tice, you have to find a way to move Thad, his money, and then it's gonna be interesting to see what AK does. Like I said, I keep saying, hammering in, it's gonna be about creativity. It might make more sense to work as an over the cap team, do some sign-in trades, and that way you'll have the full mid-level exception to your disposal, because that could be more beneficial than trying to clear up cap space that you might end up with 20 million, 25 million, which nowadays is not really that much.
Doesn't that trip you out? I remember playing NBA 2K back when I was a young kid. I'm 29 now, and I just remember playing 2K and a vet minimum contract being pennies on the dollar compared to what it is now. And you got these guys that are, I don't want to say I like Lonzo Ball. We were talking about him earlier. I like Lonzo Ball, but it was just man, I was sitting there having a conversation with my old man. I'm like, yeah, 20, I'd be all right with maybe 19 to 21, 20 million, somewhere in there for him, maybe. And my dad's like, are you nuts? He goes, that's half your cap. I'm like, no, it's not, Dad. TV deal, man. Come on. That shit went up. Shit went up years ago, man. But it's just so funny. It trips me out how much these contracts are now. it's just insane to me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about that, because I like Thad a lot, but I do know that we know that Thad is getting older, and obviously, I mean, he's been fantastic though for us, and especially this year, because last year he didn't get to show it a lot, and that's why you saw a lot of frustrations with him. Tonight, even though his shot wasn't typically working for him, he was 3 for 8 from the field, 1 for 3 from the free throw line, but he finishes with 7.6 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals. Thad does all those things, and that's why Stacey started calling him Thagic. I mean, he had a couple great passes. He got into the lane tonight, I believe it was in the third quarter, and just made like a no-look to Garrett Temple, who drained a 3, and I was just like, oh my God, I love how he plays the game. You know, and like I said, I'm kind of on cloud 9 just because so much depression has been surrounding me within the Bulls and the White Sox right now.
With so many injuries with the Sox, it's frustrating. But
dude,
I know we're talking about the Bulls here. I'm a Sox fan too, so I mean, it's frustrating.
My man.
Yeah, it's frustrating seeing these young guys that you have that are supposed to be like, you know, the core of the team and getting hurt. But yeah, it's something we've dealt with the Bulls too, in and out. I mean, they just talked about this. Adam and Stacey mentioned the 14th different starting lineup this year.
Yeah.
So like, you've had guys in and out of the lineup where, whether injuries or whatever, you know, obviously the trade was factor as well, but it's mostly been because, like, you know, Wendell was missing a portion of the season. Larry was missing a portion of the season. Zach obviously just recently missed 2 weeks. So that's kind of been the motto of this rebuild in a sense, because the last 4 years has been these guys haven't really played together a lot, and when they do, they just don't look right together.
It's like the narrative just gets so old, doesn't it? Because it's like every year it's like someone's hurt. These guys aren't gelled. We got to see what they could do on the court together. It's like, when do you pull the plug on that? That's why I never try to armchair GM, because I honest to God, I don't know if I would want the job. Because I mean,
it's not easy. That's why, I mean, I like to sometimes think about these things, but you know, in the end, man, I tell you, I would not want to be in charge of a large franchise like the Bulls, like in a large city. You know, just imagine that pressure. You have to have thick ass skin, and I think maybe that's partly one of the reasons. You wonder with Garn Paxson, I don't think they had thick skin. They had very thin skin, so they took a lot of things personal.
Yeah, so absolutely.
It affected them to the extra degree. But you know, definitely, you're right. We as fans, we look at this as fun, and you know, we play on the trade machines and stuff like that, just to see what we can do and fantasize about this player coming to the Bulls, that player coming to the Bulls. But it's obviously a lot easier said than done.
All right, it's like when you turn on 2K and you make it happen, you know.
yeah, exactly.
That's basically it.
Exactly.
Bulls defense tonight, just to touch on that real quick before we move on into the Boston matchup. And then after that, I'd like you to tell everybody, you know, about Bulls gold and everything. But the defense played pretty well tonight, I feel like. The only thing I can really gripe on about the Bulls was the turnovers. They had 17 tonight. But they did also force Charlotte into 15 and hold arguably Charlotte's best player in LaMelo Ball to 1 for 10 from the field. They did a really good job on him. They smothered him a lot. Tried getting into the passing lanes with him. We're chasing him off of screens because he loves to move around without the ball. That's why I love that kid so much. It's pleasing watching him play. I have the NBA TV package or whatever it's called, NBA League Pass, and I watched a lot of Charlotte games before he went down with that wrist injury. They were able to really contain him tonight. I was kind of confused on the matchup in the beginning. I know Biyombo is back and he had missed a couple games. And he only played 18 minutes, but I think that was an adjustment due to Vooch just kind of eating them alive, and they couldn't really get anything going on the inside. When they went to that smaller lineup is when they made a little bit of a surge, and it wasn't obviously it wasn't really a tremendous surge. I felt like every time the Bulls put their foot on the gas pedal, they just would pull away a little bit more. But they played great defense. Charlotte ends up shooting 42% from the field, man, 45% from downtown, which isn't too bad, 16 for 35 from down there. They did shoot 38% from the free throw line. I know that has nothing to do with defense, but that's not great. That's not great at all. Bulls were pretty bad too. 10 for 17 for 58%. But Charlotte, they left a lot of points on the board there. Bulls end up rebounding them by 11, 56-45, 15 offensive boards for the Bulls tonight. And to your point in the beginning of the episode, the ball movement, 33 assists for the Bulls to the 29 for the Hornets. So, I mean, all around, besides, the Bulls having the 17 turnovers and allowing 18 points off of those turnovers, I think they did a good job. They held Charlotte to 36 points in the paint. Bulls had 50. So, Bulls' largest lead was 24 on the night. Charlotte never led. So, I think all around, it was a really good game. And I think it's, I feel great because getting Zach and Vooch back and playing that kind of game has to give them some sort of confidence. Now it's just the inner battle within myself of, like, do I want the Raptors to win tonight now?
Yeah.
Because what are we chasing? We chasing the 10th seed because there's not a lot of time left, man. They were 4 out before the game started with seven games left. I don't know how realistic it is to get there. With Washington and Indiana and Toronto, like it's kind of all up in the air. But what did you think about the Bulls D tonight in general? And then we'll move on.
Yeah, the defense was solid. Like they did a good job of making it hard for LaMelo to kind of, impose his will out there. And he is the engine to that Hornets offense. So they did a good job of getting on him. And like I said, I felt like this was probably Pat's best game, two-way game that we've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He still has his struggles from time to time. Like I know the offensive, we like to see more offensive assertiveness from him, but I think defensively, like I said, he has the potential to be a really good defender, and he shows it like tonight. But there's times that he still has his issues because he'll get beat, backdoor cut. He might get lose a guy in a cross match and transition or whatever have you. But yeah, it was probably definitely one of the better defensive possessions games we've seen from him. And I will say one thing as far as the tank, not to tank. The reason I don't sweat it, okay, now is because with the odds changing, I guarantee you there's going to be one or two teams that had a worse, better record than the Bulls that are going to jump over. It's going to happen. Yeah. So like it happens every year. Like if you look at the last couple of drafts, I want to say like the bottom 3 teams, like only one of them ended up in the top 4, and none of them were the top 2 picks.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, yeah, I get it. I mean, I would prefer higher odds than not having higher odds, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to sweat it if they come out, play really well, whatever. We'll see where the lottery balls land, and hopefully we are one of those teams that had like the 8th or 9th odds, and we got lucky and moved into the top 4. That's all you can really hope for.
Absolutely. Yeah. So tomorrow, back-to-back for the Bulls tonight. Tomorrow they play the Celtics on ESPN, so I think that means we don't get Adam and Stacy tomorrow, which I hate that. Yeah. Personally, I hate that. But we get the Bulls tomorrow against the Celtics. That is at home at the United Center. Celtics have, they're a good team. They're 35-31. Tatum scored last week, scored 60 points. So I'm assuming that they'll probably have, Patrick Williams on Jason Tatum tomorrow. But, again, depending on how you look at it, and I'm just looking around Twitter, people have their opinions and want to see them play well, and whatever happens. Other guys are like, hit the reverse, go straight back, try to get into the top 4 if possible. I just want to see a good basketball game. Whatever happens. I want to see them. I want to see what they did tonight again. And I know Boston's a better team than Charlotte, not by much record-wise if you look at it, but there's a good amount of talent in Boston. I'd like to see the Bulls do what they did tonight, and that's play competitive basketball on both ends of the floor for 48 minutes. And that's all I can ask for, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want to see improvements from players. I don't want to see guys like Thad and I'm sorry, not Thad, Vooch and Zach struggling to play with each other. Like Kobe continues to be really bad, just like
right.
At the same time, there has to be some point where you can try to make a move. Like I said, I I'm not like begging for Kobe to be off this team, but if he plays well, that helps his trade value, right?
Right.
At the very least. So, and like I said, I'm not hoping that they move him, but if it comes to a point like, hey, there's a better fit for this roster than, and you can swap that for with Kobe, that would be good for the team. So that's something to consider as well. So yeah, I'm with you as far as just like I rather see a competitive game. And in the end, when the season ends, we'll see where the lottery balls fall. Because I mean, like I said, every year there's one or two teams that have that just missed the playoffs, end up winning the lottery. Like the Pelicans just missed the playoffs, and they got the Zion lottery. So we'll see what happens.
Lucky sons of bitches.
Exactly.
Lucky sons of bitches, man. Well, man, that's basically all I got, Salim. Would you tell everybody where to find you and what you do over at Bulls Gold?
Yeah, Edward and I are pretty chill dudes. Like we don't get too, we try not to get too high, not too low. I mean, maybe sometimes we'll get a little emotional, but we try to keep it pretty level headed. We like to keep it, interesting as far as one thing we try to do is we try to get guests that are like, not just Bulls fans, to kind of get out like that Bulls bubble. Like, we can kind of get into that, like, as Bulls fans, just our own perspective. So sometimes it's good to have other perspectives. So we try to keep that in the mix as well. But yeah, you can find us on like any podcast platform that out there, whatever you listen to, iTunes and Spotify, Podbean, whatever have you. We are also, you can find us on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Central on Dash Radio, nothing but net radio station. And follow me at Jordan Dynasty, and you can follow my co-host Edward Schuler at Edward Schuler Jr.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I hope you do it again too in the future. I had real fun talking to you. We, Bulls win. It was a great time getting to actually talk on a mic with you and talk about a Bulls victory.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you inviting me, man.
Absolutely.
It was a good time.
Anytime, man. Everybody be sure you're going on tapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Following us on Twitter at Bulls on Tap, at On Tap Sportsnet. Following Salim at Jordan Dynasty and me at Buzz on Tap. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to us. 5-star rating and review because that's cool and tough. And make sure to go do the same thing for Bulls Gold. Like Salim said, you can find that anywhere. Any podcasting platform you listen to, it's there for you to listen to. We'll be back tomorrow in some capacity, whether it's me and Goose, whether it's me and Burke. Who knows? Maybe I'll be calling up Salim again, see if he wants to join on after hopefully another Bulls W.